asked to look at the liver because of the cells. Okay, to identify the cytoplasm and the nucleus. Okay, this is also the liver, but it is stained with argentapin stain or silver stain. Okay, why do you have to stain it with silver stain? To emphasize what structure? What are these hair-like black lines? These are reticular fibers. So, if the pointer is pointed at this and the question is identify pointed structure, your answer is reticular fiber. Reticular fiber. If the question is classify pointed tissue, reticular tissue, which is a special type of connective tissue. Okay? So be careful in reading the questions. Do not hurry reading the questions. And you read the questions first before looking at the specimen. Kasi if you look first, this is liver. Example lang, liver. You will write down liver. But that is not what is asked. Just ask to identify the pointed structure, reticular fiber. If classify the pointed or bracketed tissue, that's reticular tissue. Okay, so when you say reticular tissue, the predominant component is reticular fiber. Just like in elastic tissue, the predominating component is the elastic fiber. Okay, so do you remember this structure? This is a cross-section of your spinal cord. Okay, you don't have to know that it's the spinal cord, but for as a guide, when you do your laboratory, you look at the atlas where to find the structure you are looking for. So you are instructed to look at the anterior horn or the ventral horn of your spinal cord. This is the central canal. Okay, so what do you want in the anterior horn? You want to look at the anterior horn cells. What are these anterior horn cells? They are actually your neurons. Okay, neurons yan. Okay, so this is a neuron. Okay, the rest, these are just fibers and supporting cells. Okay, these are neurons. Okay, what are the possible questions? Of course, we can ask you to classify the entire tissue. What is the answer? Nervous tissue. Okay, classify pointed cell according to the number of process. Multipolar, or classify pointed cell according to function. According to function? It's a multipolar. So, what's the function of a multipolar neuron? The other one, the opposite. So it's a motor neuron, motor. When you receive stimuli, that's a sensory neuron. And when you send signal to body parts, that's a motor neuron. To muscles especially. Okay, so motor neuron. Okay, as of For the other types of neurons, like your pseudo-unipolar, bipolar, you don't actually see the processes. It's hard to identify those processes under the light microscope only. So what does it imply? If it is hard to identify, if you don't see it, we don't keep it. Unfair naman, di ba? It's unfair if you cannot classify it. Okay, so motor lang ang that's the only neuron actually that you can identify. Multipolar. Okay, but you can identify it later in other modules, like in your nervous, in the eye, ophthalmology, sa mga ear, yung mga sensory organs, sa retina. That's when we will ask you the cell. Okay. Because you now have the knowledge of those parts. Okay. Specifically, example, the retina of the eye. So, alam nyo na yon. But at this point, cell lang ang tinatanong. So, you cannot identify the cell.